Hey, Goo! Is that Dragon Quest 6? That's right. Uh, Today's video, I'm going to go over the Dragon Quest 6 or Dragon Quest Tactics, all the events, so that you know what we're getting into. It's a very long event, and I hope you guys enjoy. So let's level up together. Stay tuned. I'm going to be going over each unit quickly here, but I do have a detailed, or will have a detailed unit review on each and every one coming through. Our first one, though, is Terry. Terry is the first unit we're going to be getting. His leadership effect is actually pretty powerful, increases hero physical power by 20%. Um, his unique ability is that he gives all physical attacks plus 15%. So anything that's zap related is very, very powerful. Um, and all in all, I really do enjoy him. Um, Thunder Slash, Thunder God have very powerful zap attacks, while Miracle Moon is a martial damage, which is probably his biggest nick. But it does recover 20% damage done to his HP. With his MP, though, he can't really cast it too often, and he doesn't have an ability to reduce MP. So leveling up Miracle Moon is kind of important to make sure that you can cast it twice. His Awakening skills, he does get +1 movement with the first one. Second and fourth is Crackle and Bang. But the third one is incredibly important to Terry, and this is his other kind of downfall, is that he becomes the one of the, if not the best hero at 3 hearts, but you need to get him there in order for that, because he increases evasion for the first three turns, and zap attribute powers +5%. And the last one is increase evasion for 1 turn each time you attack. So it's a 2 evasion ups. Because with Terry, you're going to be able to attack. Thunder God allows him to move up, and with the 3 movement at that point, you're going to basically be able to cover most of the battlefield with him. And another zap attribute power +5%. So that gives him up to 25% additional power to all of his zap attributes, which includes his finale. And this is what makes him insanely powerful overall. The next unit is Ashlynne. She is a very interesting unit because she is great for very long battles. Her leadership effect increases zap power by 10%. Is very nice overall because it's useful for basically anyone who has zap. Not quite as powerful as Baramos's for Boom, but I think they're a little afraid to go above 10% right now. So I kind of wish it was 15, but once again, that's more nitpicking. She is a hero magic. She is the queen of MP. Her initial skill can be activated 3 times for 0, which gives her a lot of MP regen. Her other 2 skills use an awful lot of MP, but if you awaken her, she becomes an absolute battery and the queen for very long PvE battles. She has 2 elements. She does large sizzle damage to all enemies, and Calverna Flash is a very large AoE spell. And Moonlight is her zap, and inflicts zap damage 4 times to an enemy, and does an awful lot of damage overall. And then she has a really big spell casting ability for her heroic that just absolutely devastates 3x3 square in front of her for enemies. Her Awakening skill, the first one, is very important, is because it reduces overall MP cost, which is important to her, and increases power. Second and fourth is Frizz and Crackle resistance at 25%. The third one gives the Moonlight and her Mandate, which is the or Mandante, which is her special skill 5% and gives her 50 extra MP points to her overall ability. She uses MP like a fiend, but because she can MP regen and it's based off her MP, that really helps her out a lot. Last one is the same thing, except gives her 5% overall MP, which is actually a little larger increase, one because you're getting her to the 5th one overall, and assuming you get her to level 120. So she is able to cast a lot of spells consistently, and that's what's going to really drive her and drives her power overall. All right, so Nokturnus is the best unit in JP still, or at least I could say arguably. There's one unit that's going to come out in about 5 months, the way that Global's going 4 months at this point, that counters Nokturnus, but you could still argue that Nokturnus is top of the pile. His leadership effect is increases boss physical power by 25%. This is an incredible leadership effect, especially when if you've already invested in a lot of boss units, especially like a Stark, Sorrow, etc. This gives a very, very good leadership effect. And for Nokturnus, this is obviously the best leadership effect for him. His skills are just insane. And he just has just an absolute crazy amount. I'm going to go into severe detail on him and why he's so powerful. But his skills, he has 2 elements and a non-elemental, very powerful skill. Jet Sword does SAM physical damage at range of 3. Grand Cross is has a nice AoE that's a range of 2. That inflicts 250% whoosh physical damage to all enemies. And Genie skill deals randomly 75% physical damage to enemies 5 times in that large square. Think of like Dragon Lord's ability. And can lower defense, which for Nokturnus, if your defense is lowered, you're dead. There's not much else to say. With Nokturnus, you're going to want to really awaken him as much as you can. His first one is odd number skills. He will increase attack, defense, agility skill for 3 turns, and it goes up to turn 10, and that's correct. It's all those stats get increased. Second and fourth is bang and crackle resistance. Third one, all stats up. Obviously, he gets an HP recovery each turn. No, just because the only thing he really didn't have was the ability to recover HP and MP. And by the way, if you look at his skills, his MP usage isn't too high, and he has a decent MP pool to begin with as well. And he gets 5% on all physical attacks. And the other one is HP and 5% physical power and concentration, which means basically he gets more power on his skills as well. If you get him to 5, he becomes an absolute destroyer in both PvP and PvE, but especially on PvE because his buffs last for so long. And even his physical attacks at this point just turned into absolutely destroyers. Best unit in the game. Obviously, best unit in this overall time we're going to be in, because basically most of January we're also going to be in DQ6. But the scary part is all of these units are good. The last one's Mortimor. He increases spell power by 15%. This is our third one that has it. By far the true best unit for that increases spell power by 15%. Powerful ice user, inflicts crackle damage to an enemy. Ice shard, Dream Ice Spear does even more crackle spell damage and can rarely put enemies to sleep. So that is incredibly powerful ability. It does eat up a lot of MP though. And the last one's Explosion Despair, and randomly deals bang type spell damage and can rarely lower spell resistance for 3 turns as well. Not as good as Nokturnus, but still a very powerful unit. His first awakenings increase skill for 3 turns at the start of the turn. Remember, start of the turn for first 3 turns, and he powers up. Uh, so at turn 3, he becomes insanely powerful. It does then wear down, so he has a peak of power, but this power gets really amplified quickly. For his resistance 25% for second, fourth. He gets third and fifth is MP consumption -5, so 10 total, and spell power plus 5%, 10% total. And a combination getting him to fifth awakening is also incredibly powerful. But also, what's frustrating is a lot of these units are only powerful if you get them to at least their third hearts. Ashlynne, I think, is probably the best unit right off the bat. You can also argue Nokturnus is too, especially with one awakening. But they become really powerful there. So they really haven't gone this much into overall units like this beyond that. So if you do have the gems or you do get incredibly lucky in this banner, you will be well rewarded. And Carver's our free unit, and I'm going to actually go to a little bit more detail here. For a free S unit, he is actually pretty good leadership effect, increase heroes defense by 30%. You're actually going to use this in the overall DQ6 as well. There's going to be one area where units only use physical, and you're going to want to do this. He is great for PvE because of that. And if you have the hero base to do it, which we do have a lot of free to play good heroes, and these allow them to last a lot longer and makes it, and it's a really good leadership effect. His first skill, Hand Dynasty, reduces your damage by 15%, increases physical power by 1.5x for 1 turn. Very, very good skill in case you can't make it. He does get movement 3 once you get him to Awakening 1. Explosion is his second skill, does large bang martial damage to an enemy and can move you up 2 squares as long as there's nothing blocking you there. So if he can reach somebody, he can move up closer to the battle with that. So that is incredibly useful skill. The other one is Kinzuki, which is also the name of his fourth one. This one inflicts 280% physical damage to an enemy. His unique ability is a little annoying, though. He rarely will miss a unit. So, yes, he is an S unit. He has a lot of good skills, but he is a bit frustrating where he has a chance to just outright miss a unit. And this is where why he is the free S unit. He has a negative to go with him. So for people who hate RNG, Carver will be annoying, but he is a very good S unit overall. As we stated, his first awakening's movement +1, second and fourth is Frizz and Crackle, and then all the Seikenzuki skills are up 5% for third and fifth. So how do we actually awaken him? There are crystal missions, and his awakenings are done basically through achievements through the Dragon Quest 6 events. The first one is to clear Chapter 2-4, not too hard. Level 90 Carver is the second one. Then you start getting there. Rank up 36 monsters. I think it'll probably turn into 40 there. Clear 500 Dragon Quest 6 events total, which you'll get done as long as they keep it to the 5-week period. We have 200 skill strengthens, have 50 monsters join up. Do alchemy upgrades 200 times. Clear Carver Battle Road 7. Clear the Great Demon King on hard. And the hardest one here is clear the Great Demon King on very hard. That one's going to be actually the hardest of all of them. For most players, getting to Awakening 4 isn't too rough. And getting to Awakening 5, the good news is, yes, it lowers his power a little bit, but it doesn't neuter him that much to a lot of players. So if you can't clear the Great Demon King on very hard, it's not like Carver's not going to be very useful. So let's go for the A units real quick. The first one is going to be for Terry and Ashlynne is Harmour. It is a unique high attack, low HP, low defense unit. I'm not a huge fan of this unit. It does reduce the enemy attack by 5%. Leadership skills pretty weak overall there. The First Awakening will increase attack power and movement for 1 turn. I'm a little frustrated by that. It should have been a little bit more than that. It is a pretty high increase in attack and movement, but because its movement's only 2, it's just not really good enough for Harmour. And his agility's decent, 347, which kind of is actually the right agility for him. You kind of want a fast unit to come towards him, and then the Harmour can destroy it quickly, and hoping that it then survives the next counter. And just to build on that, on its first turn, it can also cast Reckless, which greatly increases your attack while lowering your defense for 3 turns, just to make him even more glassy of a glass cannon. All right, let's go for the Nokturnus one, the War Gryphon. This one is a breath user. Decent movement again, high agility, good HP for the movement, but the defense is a little low. But because it's a breathing unit for most of it, it has a pretty good overall distance it can keep to it, so it doesn't really get surrounded by enemies. Its most unique ability here is slow, actually, to reduce the speed to all enemies. This is actually a very useful skill if you can get it. All in all, this is actually a somewhat decent unit to go for. It's on the Nokturnus banner. I know a lot of you guys are going to be going after it just for that slow. Add another breath with this as well. Its leadership effect is increase the power of nature whoosh power by 10%. So nature units get 10% additional whoosh power. Nature units aren't really the greatest in this game. You're not really going to be using the leadership, but the First Awakening increases is whoosh attribute power by 10%, which is important, obviously, to the War Gryphon. Wind Breath does a very nice T damage, and breathing actually inflicts some small whoosh damage as well. I would try to inflict or get like a paralyze ability on War Gryphon on top of slow. This kind of makes it really annoying, but really good for PvE battles that where you either want to be slowing or paralyzing enemy units. The last one is Mortimor Scout. I'm sorry, it's not Harmour, but this is a pretty good overall unit as well. The leadership is weak by 5%. I like Onslaught a lot better than I like Harmour's. It greatly increases your attack and movement power for 1 turn. This is a lot more useful. It is a slow movement. It's also a bit of an RNG unit. Its First Awakening will randomly increase attack and movement power for 1 turn for the beginning of the battle. If it gets that, then that's great, but and it's a little bit bigger of an increase. Its attack is actually pretty high, and its agility is good. The main issue here is that it just doesn't have very much range, so add another attack if possible. But all in all, it's an okay A unit as well. The free A unit, Low Djinks, is actually quite useful. I'm going to spend a little bit more time on this than I am some others. This actually, its best skill is Wind Protection. It increases the defense and spell resistance of all allies for 3 turns. It can be casted on himself or up to 2 spaces away from him, and has a plus sign. So This is great, especially if you're going to be building, say, a team in PvE where you have a guarded team and then you have units, surrounding it in that plus fashion. It helps overall for because it's both defense and spell and lasts for 3 turns. Then you can use its whoosh ability to do some wind damage on top of it. So there is a lot of uses here. The leadership is increased whoosh power by 5%. It's weak, but for a free A unit, there's going to be some uses for it. So you might actually want to use this one overall. Suggested skills just to add a debuff because maybe the wind it's not going to be useful. But if you could lower like a power or attack, power or defense, you will be able to really buff up your team, keep the other units from doing damage to your tank. And that's going to be kind of like the goal for overall for Low Djinks. As I say, its movement's great, so it can get around too if needed. If you're going to actually have a battle where you need to do 2 battles with like 2 tanks, which kind of happens later on, then it can bounce around quickly with the 4 movement on top of it. Because that wind protection basically it can move 6 spaces if you think about it that way. I like this unit. It is a little niche, but for being a free unit, it is actually quite useful. So we're going to have some new farmable units here. Killer Gila, Gryphon, Giant Moth, and Gum Shield. So that's just going to be stuff that you're going to work on to get the Carver units. Let's now quickly just go through the Dragon Quest VI S weapons and armor. And yes, and there's also A weapons and armor. These are going to be part of the challenge that we'll be talking later on. And they're all pretty interesting weapons. They are a little bit stronger than the average weapon, but have negatives on top of it for the most part. So the first one, Shinokin, has HP 30, attack 30, but defense minus 40. So why not? Let's make some glass cannons, even more glassy, because that's the way we like to do it in this game, I swear. Alchemy, attack, HP, and agility. It is a pretty good overall, just generic sword. Second one is Nokturnus' sword we get from the Phantom Land. 45 HP, attack 14, physical power 4%. This gives alchemy, genie power, grand cross power, attack, HP, agility. If you can get genie power and or grand cross power, this just makes Nokturnus that much more stronger overall. This is probably the most important weapon to get, especially if you're getting Nokturnus. And it is not super, super hard to get. As I think you only have to beat hard in order to get your first Nokturnus sword. And that is pretty doable, even though it is a bit longer than some of the other types it has, as it has 6 battles instead of the normal 5. The third one is Dragon Ball. No, I'm sorry, Magic Ball of World King. And this is from Destimore here. Intelligence plus 28, spell power plus 4%. This is Mortimor's weapon. Alchemy is Phantom Ice Spear, Despair Explosion, MP Intelligent, and Agility. As I say, this is Mortimor's weapon. Very, very good. The last one is Majin Armor. I'm not exactly sure what they're going to call it, but this is actually a pretty powerful armor, but it comes with a slightly harsh negative 35 defense, which is incredibly high. Agility minus 20, though. Alchemy is HP, defense, physical resist. So these have some very interesting. The 2 S weapons are for the question mark or the boss units, but the other 2 S units are very general weapons, but they have very high stats, but are kind of what we call cursed armors and weapons because they also have some negative stats. Well, now let's go with the A weapons. There are 3 here, and the items First one is for Ashlynne, the Calvarona dagger. You get this in chapter 3-4 in the series here. MP 11, intelligence 11, spell power plus 2% with alchemy and moonlight power, Calvarona flash and MP. Second one, Spirit Trussel. This one's Carver's attack 11, defense 17, physical power plus 2%. Alchemy is all this is. Saikenzuki's, agility, defense, and attack. Third one is Nomadic Sword, which is Terry's weapon, chapter 4-3, Dragon Quest 6. HP 36, attack 11, stat physical power plus 4%. You can get Thunder God, Secret Sword, agility, HP, and attack as well. There's a lot of fragments here, but remember this is a pretty lengthy overall event. So we've got tickets, we've got question hero fragments, zap, non-attribute books, some crackle books as well, and blooming materials just to start. But this is just kind of the general overall thing here. As long as you play and get most of the things done, you'll be able to get pretty much all of these throughout. So it's not too hard. Yes, the list is huge, but this is a very long event. All right, as I'm just now getting into some of the unique abilities here. Release the Phantom Earth is going to be... be where I would say the most challenges in. Sorry. This is similar to previous campaigns where there will be 6 stages with unique parties instead of 5. The levels won't be as high as what we've been facing in a lot of other things. Sorry. But because we have to make 6 parties total, and 3 of them cover the same elements, this will be mildly challenging for many people. So I'll try to go through that, and the best parties for some of them do overlap, and that's because if you want to defeat all 6, you can go back and do any which ones to gather whatever challenges you didn't get to, and also if you get stuck and you have to reset, you can always reset. Each stage has different abnormal conditions and elements to protect against, and for this battle you get additional weapon armor. One is the Nokturnus sword and the other one's the machine armor, as stated. So the first one is Mudo here. Obviously, these are the Japanese names. They will change in English. So I've done the enemies here and what they are weak to and a suggested party. Some of you guys will not have these units, and so I do other suggestions as well. And actually, for the most part here, Squidzilla this is like one of the few ones that Squidzilla is really great for. And Zoma's really great for, so if you want to actually put that in, because if I remember correctly, and I have the other 5, they're the only real ice units here, so that specialist go against the boss. So either want to reduce bang resistance, which the team above is really good for, or you just go out all ice and then take out the other 2 fairly quickly with someone who has wind. But the reason why we don't have whoosh is that a lot of the other units are weak to whoosh, and so you're kind of just going to want to power through these with the other elements down below. The second one is Gracos here. The goal is really you need to be resistant to sleep and crackle. This one is one of the easier ones as well, but for a lot of people here, you're going to have to be very careful with the units that you have vis-a-vis here, or you can also go with White King instead, and then the rest of these, including a use for the $24 million bunny here. is important. But basically, as long as you're resistant to crackle, a lot of the damages won't do a great deal of it, and you should be able to get through this. For very hard in Japan, these were about 15,000 to 17,000 CP. So we're not at least being asked to go through like 20,000 with all these units. The third one for Phantom Earth is Jamiras. This is by far the largest battle of the two that you're going to go through, and this one is actually best to think of. You're going to have to fight two battles, top and bottom. Units here, there is some that are weak to a lot of different weaknesses. Almost all of them are weak against Sizz and Frizz. Most one you're going to be worried about is a Gryphon Jamiras. So some of the units here, especially Kanik and I think Elena, but Kanik is going to be pretty unique for this one. You can use him if you've got him. Try and not use your best healer here till later, but I do have them here. And goal is, and the others are, this one's going to be one of the tough ones because you have to keep you're really doing two battles and you can't sweep through because there is a top and bottom. Overall, most of these units don't have a lot of HP, so you can double team, or if you've got the right AoE combinations, you can take out most of them, and then just try to keep Jamiras from killing your units, and you should be fine. The next couple here are actually the tougher ones, but the good news is they are either with only 2 or 1 units. Well, 2, 1, then 3. But it's really the same unit, just with 3 different parts. Nokturnus is weak to Whoosh and Zap. Overkilling Machine is going to be your first target. It does have a decent amount. Vis-a-vis, you can see, has been repeated already, along with White King. If you want, you can use Bianca, as this one is pretty weak against Zap. And that's a pretty good start overall. Unfortunately, I'm trying to introduce additional units for everybody, just to see. You might have to go against and have a sacrificial during Nokturnus. Nokturnus is probably the easiest of the harder battles by far, and so you might need to come back to this one later to clear it out. The goal is to try to save up for both of the Mortimor battles. This one's mano a mano, so it's not as bad. It's like even trying to use like Gasbagon here. There's mano a mano, so you can go ahead with Slime Lord here. But this one's only versus you. He will cast Crackle and Bang spells, so that's why we've got these units here. It's a little frustrating, but that's why I'm just trying to get this out for right now. We can come up with specific parties for your groups. If people have a large selection of units, they're not going to find it as tough. But Mortimor here has a lot of HP, so he will regen a little bit of it. So it is a bit of a battle where you just kind of want to make sure you go at him as quickly as you can without letting it last too long. Last one is the Great Demon King, and the left and right hands you're going to want to defeat theoretically by turn 1. The nice thing here is the Metal Dragon hasn't been really suggested for others and does a very good job on this battle. So save the Metal Dragon first. And just for everybody to notice, the suggested party, I always had the leader first, as this is how people usually did beat and get all of the rewards, basically as low as possible. You can see that we've even got the Bullfinch here and the baby. And the important here is you do need to blossom it in order for it to be useful. Otherwise, you kind of go up, maybe use King Leo instead. etc. But the goal is to build 6 different parties and to try and take it over. And then once you get through all of that, if you need to get the rewards later, then go ahead and do that. But first, focus on that. All right, we have another boss-like battle here. This is the same fight split into 4 different levels here. And there will be 2 of these types. The first one is the recommended team of the Keeper of the Treasure House EX here. We can get Shinokin. Paralysis defense is definitely needed for this one. Seraphy, which hopefully you have. Then Bianca, Sorrow, etc. So the first 5 here is the 5-man team. If your Terry is strong enough, you can actually do a 3-man team with Terry, Seraphy, and Golem. With Golem taking the damage, and just kind of use Terry and Seraphy along with Golem protecting, bring them in, take out the units at one time apiece, and then go. With Terry's ability to dodge, it does help out with Seraphy and also with Golem. The last one here is the Treasure House. Units with attack power down is incredibly important and high defense because only physical attacks in this battle. Notice that we have our free unit here that has the ability to increase hero defense by 30%. And this is a very free to play friendly team. If you want to go with nothing but heroes, you can also do that. But from a free to play, this one can be done fairly easily. It's just you got to go and get Carver before you can do it. But at the very least, this one is actually fairly friendly, and I consider it very well designed. Now we have Mortimor's challenge here. Whole nother round of boss battles here. This one here is a bit more of a pure force battle here than anything else. It's going to be similar to the Mortimor, the Demon King, where you have 2 hands, and then the main demon here. You're going to really want to just defeat the hands first, especially in the Hell mode, especially before turn 5 starts. If you don't, a massive, basically wipeout spell will be cast. The recommend team is down below here. All in all, very, very specific. Seraphy's needed, but if not, just replace it with your best healer. There is going to be near the end of the campaign. It's called the Dream Travelers, where you'll be able to fight the 3 heroes at DQ6 that we are getting here. This is the big challenge here, but the good news is basically you get 2 icons, 50 gems, and 400 DQ6 coins. So if you can't beat it, it's not that big of a deal. Team comp is down below. High Djinks here is actually important. Low Djinks here is important, but you're going to really focus on Terry first because this Miracle Moon is incredibly annoying and very dangerous. Then target Ashlynne before the 5th turn to avoid her big 3x3 attack. If you can't, you're going to have to sacrifice a hero with it or a unit with it at the very least. And as I say, I'm trying to make as free to friendly team as I can find. But this is a Dragon Lord that was pretty powerful in order for it to work. So finally, we have 2 battle roads. Low Djinks has Mortamor here and Harmour, and along with some old units here, and also we have not Hassan, it's Carver. I'm using his Japanese name here, but Carver's, which has Ashlynne and Terry as the units, and it actually has another one of the slime units down below, which is an F. So all in all, we'll have two separate battle roads to go through. I believe Carver is going to be the first one, then followed by uh, Low Djinks. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I know this was a lot of information. I've got a lot more unit reviews to go through, so I hope you guys enjoy. Good luck and good slurp. Thank you, everyone. Bye.